Hey man, so this is how I start my trade on the asset that I'm working on. In this case, I'm going to be trading BTC USD. So currently, we can see the movement that happened today, but we're going to look at what it was like a few hours ago. Okay, so on the 7th, which was, I believe, Wednesday. So on Wednesday, if we were to use fib retracement from high to low, we can see that Bitcoin was hovering around the 50% area. At this specific point, I was potentially short on Bitcoin. Okay. It started to print lower candles. And here, when the candle started to slow down, is when I had to change my bias. Because before these up candles started to print, I was potentially going to be taking a short on Bitcoin on a lower time frame, and I can show you what that would look like. So I initially assumed that this was a breaker structure, and then that Bitcoin was going to be moving to potentially take out these lows. However, on the 4 hour, I saw that the bearish candle started to slow down. And when I say slow down, I mean, if you were to look at a strong down movement from Bitcoin, you can see that usually it is a strong and solid down candle. There's not a lot of wicks to the downside. Okay, so this is the first area that made me doubt that it was going to be going lower. Then I know that Bitcoin and NAS 100 have a strong correlation, a strong positive correlation, as opposed to a negative correlation. That is, positive correlation when NAS 100 goes higher, Bitcoin is likely to go higher as well. So coming over to NAS 100, how do I confirm if NAS is bullish or not? So using fib retracement from the low to the high, I see that NAS is currently at a 50% retracement on the higher time frame, on the daily time frame. And in fact, it is currently at, if I remove this, it is currently at the 1200 whole level right here. You can see that price has not broken below the 1200 whole level, 12,000 rather, and it is at the 61.8. So from this point, I can look at the 4 hour and I can see that, okay, if price is bullish from here, I'm expecting a retracement into this area, right? So we can do the fib retracement again on a lower time frame, and we can see that it came in below the 50%, close to the 618, into an imbalance. And so on the higher time frame, we have NAS 100 being at the daily area, which is using this horizontal line, which is roughly right here. So daily 618. Okay. After that, we wait for a breaker structure to the upside on the 4 hour, and then we are going to play the retracement, which is this. So obviously, you may not take the trade on the 4 hour, but let's just say looking at it in the morning on the 30 minutes. The time is also important because I'm using I don't use indicators specifically, but I use one just to tell me what the specific session timings are. So the blue line is London and the orange is New York Stock Exchange Open. That's significant because I'm looking for the move to happen within New York Stock Exchange Open, right? So on the 30 minutes, initially we had a strong down movement. After which we can see that price then took out the high from London. right? So at this point, I am no longer bearish and I'm expecting a retracement. If I were to go lower, and we're going to use fib on this level again, we're looking for anything below 50% or 618, specifically probably the 786 in this specific area. So we're going to watch this play out. Okay, so at this point, when NAS 100 comes into this area after having a breaker structure, a strong movement to the upside, and visually you can see that we have one down candle, but many bullish candles. So I'm going to then go to BTC around and look for the same time frame. So if we were to go back to NAS 100, that would have been, let me just see, this was roughly around 1220. So 1220. So we're going to find 1220 on BTC for that day. So it's a bit more difficult to show because this is just all, hindsight. So I'm going to go to 30 minutes on Bitcoin, and this is the New York Stock Exchange Open. You see the same orange line, and this is roughly around the same time that NAS was having its retracement. Okay, so we're going to go to the lower time frame, and we're going to see what that looks like. So this is the most recent high that NAS made before this upward movement. Okay, so it came down, took out this low, liquidity, and if I was to play this area, I waited. There's a breaker structure to the upside, and I'm expecting a retracement. What type of retracement? Anything below 50%, 618. And if I were to play this, my stop would generally go below the low. If you want to be a bit more safe, because sometimes due to spread and manipulation, you could potentially put it all the way down here, which is below this low, which is still below, 1%, below 3%, I would say. Because so from this point on, we can see what happened. Let's go. So at this point, it's more exercise in watching what's happening and not moving your stop to break even too soon, right? Because potentially move the stop to break even too soon, you can see that the price would have come back and you'd have gotten stopped out. So I generally don't move my stop to break even until I've potentially broken a newer significant high. So at this point, after one, after two, so most of the day, you'd have, depending on your entry, you'd have been in this trade with no significant movements. I'm going to speed this up a bit. And then here, on 1500, we can see that we have a strong movement to the upside. At this point, when it breaks this high, I would move my stop to break even. So break even, depending on where you got in, may have been somewhere around here, somewhere in here, and a little bit in profit. Now, at this point, where would be the potential target? So there's a lot of liquidity above these highs. And we're going to also use the fib again. So high to low. And if, just like when we're getting in, we want to buy at or below the 50%, ideally we want to get out of the trade similarly at or above the 50%. So in this case, there's a whole level. So my exit would have either been 2,800, which is the first whole level above these highs, and that's why that's important. 2,800. Or if you want to have a bit more, you can go to 21,200, which I believe would be considered a 20 level. So 2,800 is not a whole level, it's a 80 level, so my bad. 20,000 would have been the whole level. So 2,800 would have been an 80 level, and 21,200 would have been 200 20 level. So we're going to watch the play out, and we can see that for that day, Bitcoin did balance at the 21,200, but truthfully, if you had gotten at 2,800, it wouldn't have been, just 2% difference. So that doesn't matter specifically. All right. Thanks.